Jared Isaacman just became NASA's new administrator, and he's already defending Starship against critics who say SLS and Orion are working while Starship falls behind. But here's what those critics don't understand. Starship HLS is 50 meters tall, can carry 100 tons to the lunar surface, and stay there for a month. No other vehicle comes close. The real challenge? Getting that much mass to the moon requires something never done before: orbital refueling. SpaceX plans to test it in June 2025. So why is this one technology the key to Moon Base Alpha? Let's talk about why Isaacman jumped to Starship's defense. A critic on social media claimed SLS works, Orion works, but Starship is the holdup. Isaacman's response was surgical. He pointed out that Orion, after more than 20 years in development, has never flown humans and revealed unexpected heat shield issues on its first mission. The SLS booster test ended with an anomaly. These aren't minor details. They expose fundamental problems that most people overlook. Here's what actually happened with Orion. This spacecraft traces back to the early 2000s under the Constellation program with Lockheed Martin. By 2024, NASA had spent $24.1 billion on it. We're now at the end of 2025, and Orion still hasn't carried a single human. It completed one uncrewed mission, Artemis, one in 2022. But here's the twist. After that flight, confidence in Orion actually dropped. The heat shield suffered severe charring. Parts of the ablative avcoat layer were unexpectedly exposed after re-entry, with char loss far exceeding predictions. Trapped gases caused cracking and material loss at more than 100 separate locations. NASA investigated thoroughly. Their solution? Instead of replacing the heat shield for Artemis II, they adjusted the re-entry trajectory to reduce risk. That decision pushed the mission from September 2025 to April 2026. Think about what that means. They're essentially flying around the problem rather than fixing it. Is that the kind of proven system we should celebrate? Then there's the SLS booster situation. In late June, Northrop Grumman conducted the first full-scale static fire test of its booster obsolescence and life extension program, a more powerful design for the future SLS Block 2. The test in Promontory, Utah lasted over 2 minutes and seemed to perform well, but near the end the nozzle burned through, violently detached, and exploded. Debris flew everywhere, triggering a fiery blast and thick black smoke. Northrop called it an anomaly that provided valuable data. Multiple reports confirmed this was a major setback. Even legacy contractors with decades of solid rocket experience are struggling with serious technical issues when upgrading old hardware. Now add up the costs. Orion, $24.1 billion and counting. SLS, around $29 billion. Both programs have consumed over $50 billion combined, and neither has successfully transported humans anywhere yet. So when someone says, Orion works, SLS works, what exactly are they celebrating? Hardware that's massively over budget, severely delayed, and still revealing critical flaws. This brings us to the real question. Why is Starship the target of criticism when it's actually making faster progress than either legacy system? The answer lies in understanding the timeline SpaceX was handed. The HLS contract was signed in April 2021. At that time, Artemis III was targeting a lunar landing in 2024. NASA was asking SpaceX to build a completely revolutionary lunar lander from scratch in just 3 years. That's not ambitious. That's impossible. The HLS vehicle is 50 meters tall and 9 meters in diameter, packed with hardware that's never been designed or flown before. Elevators, airlocks, advanced life support. avionics systems. It doesn't follow legacy spaceflight standards, which means every system requires more time to mature and validate. Getting a lander this massive to the moon requires orbital refueling, something no one has ever done. SpaceX plans to demonstrate that capability this year, followed by an uncrewed test mission to secure NASA certification. Experts from the GAO and NASA's Office of Inspector General warned back in 2021 to 2022 that the schedule was unrealistic. HLS was the most time-compressed element of Artemis, with key milestones forced into the 2023 to 2025 window. By the end of 2025, Artemis 3 has slipped to mid-2027 or later, proving the original timeline was simply too aggressive. SpaceX was never given enough breathing room to iterate the way they normally do, the fail-fast, learn-fast approach that actually makes their systems work. But here's what critics ignore. Despite the impossible timeline, SpaceX has completed 49 major milestones: crew cabin testing with human subjects, life support system development, elevator demonstrations with Axiom spacesuits, landing leg drop tests on simulated lunar regolith, docking adapter qualification with Orion. The progress is documented on SpaceX's official HLS update page. They're self-funding over 90% of core Starship development costs, which enables rapid iteration without waiting for government budget cycles. The hardware continues advancing. Raptor 3 engines are in production, and the HLS variant will receive similar upgrades. Orbital refueling flight tests are expected around June next year. After that, we could realistically see Starship HLS conduct its first lunar test flight in 2027, followed by 2028, dedicated to refining the system. That's not speculation, it's precedent. 6 years ago, Starship was little more than a flying stainless steel tank. Today, it's the largest rocket ever built. Now let's compare what we're actually building versus what we built before. The Apollo lunar module was about 7 meters tall, weighed 15 tons, carried exactly 2 astronauts, and touched down for only a few hours before lifting off. It ran on hypergolic propellants, wasn't reusable, and was left behind after every mission. Starship HLS stands 50 meters tall with a landing mass between 100 and 150 tons. It's designed for 4 astronauts, but its internal volume could theoretically accommodate up to 100 people. It can carry multiple rovers, tens of tons of cargo, and massive amounts of scientific equipment. The interior volume is about 200 times larger than the Apollo command module. HLS features an elevator for crew and cargo, a massive pressurized cabin, and life support systems allowing astronauts to live and work on the moon for up to a month. This capability leap is exactly why orbital refueling matters. You can't get 100 to 150 tons to the lunar surface in one launch. Starship needs multiple tanker flights to transfer propellant in orbit, fully fueling the HLS variant before it heads to the moon. This technology unlocks everything Musk envisions for Moon Base Alpha. The plan starts with HLS landing vertically at the moon's south pole. The terrain is rough, but the region has plenty of ice deposits. After touchdown, the crew exits using the elevator, along with support robots like Optimus, exploration rovers, and tons of equipment. They begin assembling greenhouse-like habitats near the landing site, compact modules where astronauts can live and work for extended durations. Initially, crews stay inside HLS itself, since it provides oxygen, food, water, and exercise equipment. Gradually, they build external infrastructure. Once stable, subsequent crews arrive one by one. But here's a critical challenge. Rocket exhaust kicks up huge dust clouds. Lunar dust is sharp and abrasive. Without atmosphere to slow it down, it shoots out like shrapnel, damaging nearby structures. Any HLS arriving later must land at least 70 meters away from construction sites, or they need protective measures like special tarps that shield infrastructure while blocking cosmic radiation. Daily life requires solving fundamental problems: food, initially packaged meals from Earth, then greenhouse-grown crops like lettuce, tomatoes, and potatoes. Meat comes from 3D bioprinting technology already under development. Oxygen. One astronaut needs about 0.84 to 1 kilogram per day. For a 4-person colony, that's roughly 5 to 10 kilograms daily. Fortunately, lunar soil contains plenty of oxygen. The best approach is in situ resource utilization, extracting resources directly from regolith through carbothermal reduction. Heating regolith with carbon at 1,500 to 1,700 degrees Celsius releases oxygen. NASA demonstrated this using Apollo lunar samples. The drawback? It consumes enormous energy, which is why a nuclear power plant on the moon becomes essential. This same process could produce liquid oxygen fuel for HLS, crucial for future Mars missions. The return trip from Mars is incredibly long, so developing this capability on the moon is a critical stepping stone. Water recycling is mandatory. Astronauts filter all urine through purification systems. After treatment, it's completely clean and drinkable. This isn't just efficiency, it's survival, because mining lunar ice isn't easy. Ice deposits are in extremely cold regions with no direct sunlight, buried 1 to 2 meters underground. The safest approach uses robots and solar power to extract it. HLS itself becomes part of the base, saving massive resources. Cargo starships can land horizontally and immediately serve as habitat modules, while crew-carrying HLS ships land vertically so they can lift off again. All vehicles come with large solar panels and Starlink technology integration, providing electricity and communication with Earth. A fully developed moon base includes zones for landing, cargo handling, maintenance, scientific labs, mining, power systems, habitats, greenhouses, and recreation spaces. Infrastructure goes deeper. Roads between zones, trenches for power and data cables, fuel pipelines, radiation shielding, blast walls. Redundancy is key. Multiple landing pads keep operations running if one fails. Here's why this matters beyond just beating China back to the moon. We already did that 57 years ago. The real goal is preparing for something greater. The moon's environment is harsher than Mars. If we can survive on the moon, living on Mars becomes much easier. Moonbase Alpha isn't the destination. It's the proving ground for Musk's ultimate vision of sending 1 million people to Mars. HLS has experienced delays, but that's only from NASA's perspective. For humanity, this is an incredibly exciting breakthrough vehicle. Even if it's delayed until 2030, or even if China lands on the moon first, it doesn't really matter. We already did that 57 years ago. This time is about preparing for something far greater. Orbital refueling changes everything. Without it, we're limited to small payloads and short visits. With it, Starship can deliver 100 tons to the lunar surface, stay for a month, and establish permanent infrastructure. That's the difference between planting a flag and building a civilization. Only SpaceX has the vision and capability to make Moonbase Alpha real. They're self-funding over 90% of development costs, iterating faster than any government program, and solving problems that NASA's legacy contractors can't even approach. The first orbital refueling test happens in June 2025. That single demonstration will prove whether humanity's next giant leap is possible. Critics focus on timelines. Visionaries focus on capability. SpaceX is building the vehicle that will take us to Mars, and the moon is where we prove it works. If you support this vision, drop "Go SpaceX" in the comments. Hit that like button if you want to see humanity become a multiplanetary species. Share this video with anyone who still thinks SLS is the future. And subscribe to New Space Review, because we're covering every milestone on the path to Moonbase Alpha. The countdown has already begun.